You know, when you're scrolling through, say, TikTok or Instagram, and you see these creators, they just seem to have these perfect, happy lives.
Right, it all looks so polished.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like, what's the real story behind those posts? What are the actual hopes, the worries, the messy bits that don't make the final cut?
Everyday stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into this because today we're doing a deep dive into one specific creator. We're focusing on Lei Thoi, Lei Thui Hekta online. She's a TikToker, just hit a huge milestone, 2 million followers.
And what's really great about this particular deep dive is we're not just guessing based on her videos. We've got this recent interview she did.
Right, from Vietcetera's Gen Z Trian show.
Exactly. And the really interesting part is how she uses tarot cards in it. Not really for prediction, but more as a prompt, a way to start talking about her life, her experiences.
Yeah. So it's not about, like, what does the future hold?
Yeah.
Our mission here is more about using her own reflections from that interview to, understand the different layers, her personality, what she wants for her career, her relationship.
Peeking behind the curtain a bit.
Totally. Getting past that really confident, super cheerful online persona. Because my first impression, seeing her online, it's definitely bright, energetic, that infectious TikTok energy. But then hearing about this interview and using tarot to open up, it made me think, okay, there's probably more going on here.
And that really taps into such a key thing about, well, about life online now, doesn't it? How much of our real selves do we actually show? What are the hidden pressures of keeping up that image?
Right.
So looking at someone's reflections, even if they're sparked by something kind of lighthearted, like a tarot reading, it can give us real insights,
Yeah.
into the challenges and the hopes of people living in that digital spotlight.
Okay, so let's start with her personality. One of the first things that jumped out at me was how she initially felt about tarot. A bit hesitant.
Yeah.
She mentioned feeling like she's the one in charge of her own destiny, basically, which, you might not expect from someone about to do a tarot reading.
That's interesting. It sounds like the way the tarot was used here shifted, maybe. Less about fortune telling, more like a tool.
Exactly. A tool for introspection, a different angle to explore her own feelings.
Which fits perfectly with what we try to do here, right? Looking
Yeah.
at things from different perspectives.
Absolutely. So the first card they pulled for her personality, it was described as representing happiness and abundance.
Okay, seems to fit the online image.
You'd think so, right? But what was really telling was her immediate reaction. She sort of pushed back, saying she felt like something was missing.
Oh, like what?
Specifically, a really close friend, a soulmate type figure. And then she kind of laughed and also mentioned, well, lacking money.
Ah, that really gets at that paradox, doesn't it? You can have this huge online success, maybe even the money starts coming in,
Yeah.
but it doesn't automatically equal like deep inner fulfillment or those close connections we all need.
Yeah.
And that curated image itself, the pressure to always seem happy and successful, that can actually hide, anxieties or feeling like something's not quite right.
For sure. And she also brought up having trust issues.
Yeah.
That was a bit surprising, given how confident she seems online. And she talked about how maybe in the past, if she felt someone was being negative, she'd just confront them directly, like straight up.
Okay.
But now, because she's so public, she hesitates more, thinks twice.
Yeah, that makes sense. Being in the public eye totally changes how you handle relationships, I think. Every little interaction could potentially blow up, right? So you have to be much more careful, especially when you're feeling vulnerable. You're always thinking about how this massive audience might see it, not just the one person you're talking to.
And then she said something that really gave me pause. She talked about crying a lot behind the camera.
Wow.
Yeah. And not just about money stuff, but family issues and that feeling of not having those really, really close friends. It's such a huge contrast to the energy she puts out online.
Oh, absolutely.
It's one of those aha moments,
Yeah.
Makes you rethink the whole picture.
It's such a strong reminder that what we see online is just the highlight reel, isn't it? Everyone, no matter how successful they look, is dealing with their own stuff. And the things she mentioned, family, needing close friends, those are universal.
Totally. And speaking of family, she also talked about some conflict there. Back when she finished high school, around 18 or 19, she decided not to go straight to university. And that apparently caused some friction. Went against what her family expected.
Oh, yeah. That's like a classic tension point, isn't it? Societal expectations, family expectations versus what you feel is right for you, especially at that age, figuring out your own path. A lot of us can probably relate to that pressure.
Definitely. And they also touch on confidence. She made this really interesting distinction, she thought, between like an innate confidence, a baseline she thinks everyone has, and the confidence she sort of built over time.
That's quite insightful, how our experiences, good and bad, really do shape and reshape how confident we feel. What looks like effortless self-assurance is often, built on overcoming things, getting knocked down and getting back up. Resilience.
And she's aware now, she said, that she consciously tries to project positivity because she knows she's influential online.
Right.
Which immediately made me think about, toxic positivity, that pressure to always be on, always upbeat, even if you're really not feeling it inside.
That's such a critical thing for creators, I think. Wanting to spread good vibes is great, totally understandable. But if you're always suppressing the negative stuff,
Yeah.
that can't be healthy in the long run.
It's a balancing act.
It's a real tightrope walk, yeah. Finding that balance between being authentic and handling the responsibility of having that platform.
She also shared a bit about middle school, high school. Talked about insecurities back then, triggered by how other kids treated her, comments about her appearance.
Oof, yeah. Those early years can leave a real mark.
It's a tough reminder of how that stuff sticks with you, impacts your self-confidence, your trust in people.
Absolutely. Those formative experiences, especially negative comments about looks, they can really dig deep and make it harder to feel secure later on.
But then she described a turning point, finding validation, recognition through her TikToks.
Ah, okay.
It sounds like the focus shifted. It wasn't just about how she looked anymore. It was about her voice, her sense of humor, the joy she was sharing. Like finding her niche online really helped her.
That's a fantastic example of how these platforms, for all their issues, can sometimes offer these unexpected routes to self-acceptance.
Right.
Finding your thing, your strength.
Yeah.
When the focus moves to what you do, your creativity, your personality, it can help move past those earlier insecurities tied to just, external stuff.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about her career. The tarot reading for that brought up the Seven of Coins.
7 of coins, I bet.
And the interpretation was basically lots of opportunities, lots of potential, but also maybe feeling a bit lost or hesitant about which way to go.
That sounds very relatable for content creation, actually.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, because having tons of options can weirdly be just as paralyzing as having none. It's not always a straight path, is it? That uncertainty about, am I picking the right thing? That's a feeling a lot of people have, not just creators.
And she touched on that. Feeling like she knows she could be making more money, but being unsure about the best way to, use those earnings. She seems to be wrestling with balancing her own goals, things like more education, travel, with feeling responsible towards her family.
Yeah, that's a complex pressure, especially for young people who find success quickly. You've got your own dreams, your own ambitions, but maybe also this strong desire or expectation to support your family. That can create a real internal conflict.
And she was pretty open about not having super concrete plans beyond, say, the next 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
Which honestly feels pretty normal in the online world. Things change so fast.
Totally. It's such a fluid environment.
She also looked back at dealing with negative comments early on in her TikTok journey
Right.
and how she's learned now to just not react, not engage with the negativity.
That shows real growth, I think. Learning to manage that online feedback, especially the hate, it's a crucial skill for anyone public-facing.
Definitely.
Her approach, just not giving it energy, that's a smart way to protect your own mental space. A valuable lesson.
She also talked about still searching, trying to find a more specific direction, maybe a clearer value proposition for her content, beyond just being funny and relatable. It feels like she wants to offer more, which speaks to how content creation evolves, right? There's pressure to keep innovating, maybe offer something deeper than just quick entertainment.
Absolutely. The landscape is always shifting. Creators are constantly asking themselves, how do I stay relevant? How do I deepen that connection? What makes my stuff unique? It's a constant navigation.
And she even hinted at feeling a bit overwhelmed sometimes, maybe even a little isolated within the creator scene itself.
Oh, interesting.
Like maybe looking around and seeing others who seem to have it all figured out, more defined paths.
That's a really important point. Even though it seems like this super connected world, being a creator can actually be quite lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pressure to always be on, always creating, comparing yourself to others. It can definitely lead to feeling isolated, even if you're part of a big online community on the surface.
Interestingly, she mentioned she prefers to figure things out herself, like using Google, doing her own research, rather than seeking out mentors.
Independent streak.
Yeah. And her strategy for dealing with burnout, it sounded really simple but effective. Basically, just allowing herself to feel the burnout, feel the emotions, and move on.
That's actually really healthy. It's a form of self-compassion, isn't it?
I think so.
Instead of fighting it or forcing positivity, just acknowledging it, processing it, and then choosing to move forward. That kind of acceptance is key for sustainability, especially in demanding fields like this.
Okay, finally, let's touch on the love life reading.
Hmm.
She was upfront about being single, and she admitted it's kind of a sensitive topic for her.
Understandable.
The card that came up was the Ten of Coins. And the interpretation leaned towards, yes, potential for a significant relationship down the line, but also really emphasizing her current journey, self-discovery, self-love.
That's a really positive way to frame it. Often that work we do on ourselves, really understanding and accepting who we are, that's what builds the foundation for healthier relationships later.
Right.
The focus on self-discovery makes a lot of sense. Growth is continuous, and it often precedes finding those really fulfilling connections.
And she explained her desire for a boyfriend.
Mm.
She said it wasn't really about societal pressure. It stemmed more from just feeling lonely sometimes, which felt really vulnerable, really honest. She even mentioned sometimes feeling like the odd one out in social settings or even within her own family.
That feeling of loneliness, that basic human need for connection, it's so universal. It's brave of her to voice that, especially when society can put so much pressure on romantic relationships being the be-all and end-all.
He also mentioned a short relationship back in middle school.
Ah, okay.
And she feels like that experience actually contributed to some of those trust issues you talked about earlier.
It just shows how those early experiences, even brief ones, can really echo through our lives, can't they? Shaping how we approach things later.
Totally. And she was also really open about having a crush recently on a younger neighbor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she shared that quite openly. But she also acknowledged the challenges, like the age gap, being in different life stages.
Yeah.
And that potential connection didn't end up going anywhere.
That shows good self-awareness, though, recognizing the practicalities and the differences.
And she noticed something interesting about herself. When she likes someone, it actually makes her more self-aware, more conscious of her own actions.
Huh. An unexpected side effect of romance.
Kind of, but overall, she seems pretty grounded about it all, accepting that figuring out self-esteem, relationships, it's a long game, an ongoing process.
That's such a healthy perspective. Growth isn't linear, right? There are ups and downs. Recognizing that, being patient with yourself, that's crucial.
She actually said the readings about her career and love life felt the most accurate to her.
Interesting.
And she chose the abundance card, the first one, about personality as a kind of personal talisman, which feels hopeful, striving for that fulfillment.
A nice symbol to hold on to.
And her biggest wish back then for 2022 was just travel. She specifically mentioned wanting to visit Japan.
Travel. That ties right back into that theme of growth, seeking new experiences, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Getting out of your comfort zone, seeing different cultures. It broadens your horizons, gives you new perspectives.
Absolutely. Well, I think we can definitely wish Letu all the best as she keeps navigating everything, keeps pursuing her goals.
Indeed. And, wrapping up this deep dive, maybe it leaves us with a thought for you, the listener. In this world full of curated online lives, how do we square those perfect-seeming personas with the complicated, sometimes messy, vulnerable realities underneath? What can we maybe learn from embracing our own behind-the-scenes struggles and dreams? And maybe how can we bring a bit more empathy to our online interactions, remembering there's almost always a much deeper story going on than what we see on the screen?
That's a really powerful takeaway. Definitely something to chew on. If you found this look beneath the surface interesting, you can actually find the full interview with Letu on Vietcetera's YouTube channel.
Worth checking out.
And for more of these kinds of deep dives exploring different topics and perspectives, you know where to find us wherever you get your audio. Until next time, keep digging deeper.